We head to Sarasota, Florida for a civil case against Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. The Kowalski family is suing the hospital for over $200 million in punitive and compensatory damages after they claim that the hospital staff wrongly reported child abuse. Maya Kowalski was admitted to the hospital in 2016 upon experiencing a flare-up in her complex regional pain syndrome. In the past, the family used ketamine infusions to treat Maya's pain, but the hospital saw this high dosage request as a red flag. Now, during Maya's 3-month stay, she became custody of the state, and her mother, Beata, was no longer there and able to visit her. After 87 days of being physically separated from her daughter, Beata died by suicide.
Maya Kowalski is taken to the Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital by her parents. They tell the doctors that Maya had been diagnosed with a rare disease and that the only treatment that seemed to work on her was ketamine, a medication known to block pain receptors in the body. In a drastic turn of events, Maya is taken into state custody and her parents are not allowed to see her. Months later, Maya's mother takes her own life. Join us as we delve into the heartbreaking story behind Netflix's hit documentary Take Care of Maya. In 2015, the Kowalski family resided in Venice, Florida. Jack Kowalski is a retired deputy fire chief, and his wife, Beata, worked as a home care nurse. Beata, who immigrated from Poland, was 14 years younger than Jack. She had left Poland as a teenager and dedicated herself to her studies and a model American life. She excelled in nursing school and later on her career. In the documentary, Jack fondly reminisced about their romance and described his wife as magic. The couple had 2 children, Maya and Kyle. Maya was born in 2005, followed shortly by her brother. Beata adored her children and her life working as an infusion nurse. She cherished the comfortable family life they had built in their vibrant Venice suburb. They were a happy family, living the true American dream in Florida. However, during the 4th of July weekend in 2015, Maya, who was 9 years old at the time, had a severe asthma attack while playing with sparklers. Beata took Maya to Sarasota Memorial Hospital, where she complained of a burning sensation in her legs and feet. Medical professionals were perplexed by her symptoms, and within weeks, Maya's condition worsened. All of a sudden, her former lively energy slowly began to fade away right before her family's eyes. Beata and her husband had to watch Maya suffer headaches, pain, and injuries as her leg deteriorated. Her feet turned inward, she couldn't walk, and she developed lesions on her legs. Understandably concerned for her daughter's well-being, Beata did everything she could to get to the bottom of Maya's condition. Using her nursing knowledge and meticulous nature, Beata embarked on a quest to find answers for her family. They did not know it then, but Maya's medical journey was about to plunge the family into unimaginable hell. Maya's parents sought help from various hospitals, including Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital and Tampa General, but no diagnosis could be made. Frustratingly, the Kowalskis received no helpful solutions to treat Maya's pain. Eventually, Beata heard about Dr. Anthony Kirkpatrick, a physician studying a condition called Complex Regional Pain Syndrome, or CRPS for short. This condition is characterized by chronic pain, stiffness, and muscle atrophy. Unfortunately for Maya, diagnosing CRPS relies solely on clinical signs and symptoms, as there is no objective test available. Sadly, some clinicians even still doubt the existence of CRPSE and will often attribute its symptoms to psychosomatic factors. While there is no cure for CRPS, the pain can be managed and symptoms typically resolve within a year, although for some individuals, it can take longer. Dr. Kirkpatrick suggested ketamine infusions as a treatment for Maya's CRPS symptoms. The theory was that ketamine would reset the brain to stop sending false pain signals to the extremities. Maya's parents agreed to this treatment, and she received ketamine infusions every 3 to 4 weeks for a year. However, the costly treatment was not covered by their health insurance, requiring them to sell a rental property and for Beata to work extra shifts to continue Maya's treatment. Eventually, they found another physician offering the same treatment at lower prices and traveled to Monterrey, Mexico, for a 5-day treatment in November 2015. Maya experienced significant improvement after the treatment, with decreased pain, healed lesions, and corrected foot position. Unfortunately, the improvements were not permanent. On October 6, 2016, when Maya was 10 years old, she woke up in the middle of the night complaining of severe abdominal pain. Jack took her to Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, where Beta joined them after finishing work. Maya's parents explained to the clinicians about her CRPS diagnosis. Beta explained her symptoms and mentioned the effectiveness of ketamine. When a nurse tried to perform an ultrasound on Maya, Beta informed the nurse that Maya couldn't tolerate the test without receiving a ketamine infusion. The nurse became concerned and contacted a social worker who found Beta's behavior odd. The social worker reported the incident to the Department of Children and Families, DCF, but the report was rejected due to insufficient evidence. However, the hospital staff remained concerned about Beta's behavior. She was pushy and insistent on Maya receiving ketamine, even recommending a specific dosage. Beta became aggressive towards staff who disagreed with her and demanded that Maya be placed in a medically induced coma. Interestingly, when Beta left Maya's hospital room, Maya appeared to be in less pain and cried less. A report was filed stating that Maya wasn't in pain, but Beta insisted otherwise. This led the hospital to suspect Beta had mental health issues. Meanwhile, the Kowalskis were unhappy with Maya's treatment and requested her discharge, but the hospital refused. They were warned that attempting to remove Maya from the hospital would result in their arrest, and both Beta and Jack were forbidden from seeing Maya. One of the treatment providers involved, Sally Smith, who worked for a company called Suncoast Center Incorporated, initially believed that Beta had a factitious disorder imposed on another, also known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy. This is when a caregiver or guardian is somehow responsible for a patient's symptoms. However, Sally later changed her mind and believed that Maya had a factitious disorder imposed on herself. According to Sally, it was Maya, not her mother, who was responsible for the symptoms. Maya remained in the hospital while the Kowalskis hired a lawyer to fight for custody. In a hearing in January 2017, the Kowalskis' attorney asked the judge if Beta could hug her daughter, but the request was denied due to the uncertain status of the case. Beta was devastated by this decision. After returning home from court, she left to go to a drugstore and returned home intoxicated. The next day, she claimed to have a headache and didn't want to attend a neighborhood birthday party. When Jack returned from the party, he noticed that the door to their son's bedroom was closed, assuming Beta was asleep inside. The next morning, they found Beta dead in the garage, having taken her own life. After Beta's death, Maya was evaluated by another physician who concluded that she did not have a factitious disorder imposed on herself, but actually suffered from CRPS. 5 days after her mother's death, Maya was allowed to return home. Over the next few years, she made significant progress in her recovery, but still experiences some pain occasionally. A court order prohibited Maya and her family from seeking ketamine treatment for her symptoms. In October 2018, the Kowalskis filed a lawsuit against Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital and Suncoast. Suncoast settled the case for $2.5 million in 2021, while the trial against the hospital began in September of 2023. Notably, the trial kicked in months after Netflix released the documentary Take Care of Maya. This documentary featured interviews with Maya, her father, Jack, and her younger brother, Kyle. Maya, who is now 17, says in the documentary, "I want people to see that I wasn't lying and that other families who are going through similar situations, they're not lying either. I have CRPS. My mum was not making me sick. I just wish people would believe me. CRPS is rare, and its cause is still not clear. Why treatment is more effective." In the Take Care of Maya documentary, Dr. Kirkpatrick says that patients often describe it as a burning sensation, and the skin becomes very sensitive even to light touch. In the documentary, Jack explains, "It's very difficult to understand what went through Beta's mind, thinking that was the only way to get her daughter out. I miss her dearly. But I have anger here and there. It is so difficult to try to play both roles. Inasmuch as you try, you cannot replace their mother." In the documentary, Jack said, "We want Beta's voice to be heard." Notably, Beta's recordings, studious notes, and all-round vigilance were what enabled the legal action to be taken in the first place. According to one of the family's lawyers, attorney Gregory Anderson, if she hadn't taken such an aggressive approach, we couldn't have sued. So we're going after the hospital, Dr. Sally Smith and Suncoast, based on what's known as infliction of emotional distress, meaning that they knew what they were doing, pushing her towards some form of harm. So they should pay punitive damages, which are designed to punish them for their wrongdoing. The trial began on the 21st of September 2023, which was exactly 2,530 days after Maya was first admitted to the hospital. The jury returned its verdict a month later, on the 9th of November. But before getting to the verdict, let us look at all the horrific details of this case that were later revealed in court. For one, it was revealed that even though the hospital talked down on the possibility of a CRPS diagnosis for Maya, they were still billing the insurance companies for the same treatment. The hospital declined to comment on this specific allegation and cited strict patient privacy laws as the reason why they would not share Maya's medical records further. We also learned that a hearing audition took place in December 2016, just before Christmas. This was the hearing where Maya had presented a letter to the judge saying she was not feeling well and asked to see her family for the holidays. During the trial, the child's attorney asked the judge if there was any way she could just see her mum, just to hug her mother. The judge refused, and the following month, Beta committed suicide in the garage of her home. In the documentary, Jack said, "I know it's because he turned her down that killed her." All the way home, that's all she talked about. "I don't know how I'm going to tell Maya later because I can't go there and tell her and then leave." It will probably never make sense why Beta was denied giving her child that hug. It must have been absolutely devastating. During the month-long civil trial, several witnesses took the stand. Maya Kowalski, Jack and Carla Kowalski all gave testimonies in this case. Jack Kowalski took the stand, and one of the first things he did was describe Maya's condition before she got to the hospital.
And hearing your kid screaming 24/7, there's nothing that we could do.
Was this every night at this point?
It was mostly throughout the day and night. After hearing that, Bonnie Rice saying it's conversion disorder, this child was screaming and crying. If she took a shower, the droplets of the water would make her scream. You put a sheet over her legs, she would scream. She had to be assisted on the toilet, and she would scream. She'd look out the window, see her friends playing, and you knew that she's not faking this.
At some point, the defense attorney asked about the ketamine treatments and his initial time at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. Jack explained how the hospital justified their horrible actions as trying to wean Maya off the ketamine treatments that she was on.
I believe we wanted to go and get her treatment.
Were they telling you anything about the reasons why you shouldn't leave?
Again, object to the vagueness.
Were the doctors telling you anything about why you should leave or stay?
Well, he clarified it to the doctors, so you can answer that.
I believe that their justification was weaning off.
Weaning Maya off of what?
I don't know if it was the ketamine or whatever, but
Then on the 8th, what did you do? Did you continue to try to get yourselves out of there?
we wanted to get out of there, yes.
Did you lobby the doctors to get out of there?
Yes, and
Why didn't you just get up and go?
we were told if we left, we would be arrested.
Another key point in Jack's testimony was when he tried to express how stressful the whole situation was on his family.
In terms of the stress on you and your wife, knowing, as you've just testified, that you needed to get your daughter out for treatment and you were being kept in, that she was being kept in.
It was extremely stressful. Extremely.
And what was the fear there in terms of Maya's condition as she lay there without
Fear
you?
was that she's going to deteriorate, which she did. Not only did I see her deteriorate, I seen my wife. I go to the hospital, I see my child deteriorating. I go home, I see my wife deteriorating.
To add to this, the religious items and other things that Jack and Beta tried to get to Maya were all rejected by the hospital. Apparently, the hospital believed that Beta or even Jack was capable of lacing the items they planned on giving Maya.
Do anything that was against the hospital's rules?
No, we brought holy water. She had her wafers. She had her cross or the rosary. And a lot of that was not allowed to be in her room.
And so you brought it up, and was it then taken away?
It was taken away.
And did you ever learn the reason why it was taken away?
One thing that I remember is they were worried that the host was going to be poisoned.
That the body and blood was going to be
Yeah.
poisoned with what?
With what?
Yeah,
Who knows?
what was supposed to be in it? That was,
I have no clue what they were worried about.
well, did you ever learn through the course of this that they believed that somehow Beata was slipping ketamine to her daughter through the holy water and wafers?
Jack, lack of foundation.
Overruled.
They,
I know it didn't happen, but did you
it
learn?
didn't happen. No, it did not happen. But yes, they had all different ideas of
Theories?
theories, yes.
When Kyle took the stand, he spoke about his mother, Beta, and as you can imagine, he had nothing but good things to say about her.
I moved family to Poland to see where she grew up, and that was one of her lifelong dreams was to do that.
Of course, from
He recalled how it had been in the beginning, how bad it had been for Maya, and how confused everyone had felt about her symptoms. He emphasized that he never believed his sister was making up her symptoms, and that she was more than willing to get better.
So that is Maya. She is trying to build upper body strength, doing some exercises on the walker, and I am there to help her, to assist her, because it's still not exactly possible, but she is very determined.
Okay. So by this point in July of 2016, was she were you looking forward to your sister getting out of that wheelchair and able to move around?
Yes, we all were, yes.
And so were there times, if there were allegations here that somehow that she was faking it or making any of this up, did you ever see her in a situation where the other kids were playing outside and you saw any emotion on her regarding her ability to join in?
Yes, I have seen stuff like that where I would be with my friends doing something outside, and then I could see her watching from the window, yes.
And how'd she look?
She looked very sad, and I felt extremely bad.
Did she want to get out of that wheelchair?
She was extremely determined to.
At some point, he was asked when everything began to go bad for the Kowalski family. When establishing the timeline, everything lined up with the same time that Maya was taken to the Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. Even though he was still young, Kyle emphasized that he remembered the significant shift in the happy family dynamic and the impact the stress had on his parents.
Hard.
What did you notice from, I know you were just a kind of little kid, but what did you notice about it?
The stress that was added on my parents, that it was unmanageable. They were trying every way to get Maya out of there, and they were determined and wouldn't stop until she got out of there.
What about their relationship as time went on? I know you were just a little boy, but did you notice any stress?
Yes, the stress in the family caused more arguments than normal between them.
Did they argue much normally, or was it pretty stable marriage from what you saw? And I know you were just a kid.
It was stable, yes.
Okay. But now, what was the change
What do you mean?
between them? Were they disagreeing? Were they?
Yeah, they were disagreeing on certain things. Yeah.
Was it about how to get Maya out?
Yes, I believe there is a specific time where that there was a disagreement on that.
Okay. All right. Now,
Another notable question the defense asked Kyle was the effect of the ketamine medication on Maya. To the best of his knowledge at the time, he just knew his sister seemed happier when she was on them.
of that spring and summer of 2016 before she went into Johns Hopkins, did any of those, we talked about and seen the dystonia, but did any of the other symptoms get better?
After the ketamine?
Yeah.
After treatments, yes, the symptoms definitely do get better.
Okay. So tell us about the lesions. Were they better?
Yeah, the lesions, they started to cure. They got better.
And her movement, of course.
Yeah, the movement definitely got better.
Hmm. And was she more comfortable?
Yes, and she was also a lot happier.
A lot happier?
Yes.
Okay. And she was still getting, after Mexico, did you know she was still going off for some treatments here and there?
I was briefly aware, not...
Okay, you weren't
yeah.
part of that a
Yeah,
lot?
I wasn't exactly.
Okay. All right. But for whatever reason, your sister was happier.
Yes.
So was she still having pain here and there?
Yeah, there was definitely still be pain.
Okay. Now,
Fast forward to Maya finally coming home after their mother took her own life. Kyle recalls Maya being in worse condition than she was when she was taken to the Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital.
she was when she came home.
She was like the worst I've seen her. She was, all her symptoms that she had were extremely intensified.
All right. Did she have the lesions back?
Yes.
Were her feet back in the
Yes.
dystonia? Was she weak?
Very.
Describe how weak.
She would have trouble opening like a water bottle cap off a water bottle.
Again, right? Anything else? Was she able to get herself back up into a wheelchair again?
No, she needed help.
Did she need help with everything?
Yes.
Were there ever times when you thought you might lose your sister? then?
Most definitely, yes.
So, knowing your sister.
Then Maya herself took the stand. Despite being very emotional, Maya was articulate and was able to convey her experiences very clearly. We just have to say that for a 10-year-old, Maya endured way too much more than any kid her age should have. Even till this day, so many things in her everyday life remind her about her time in Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital.
Beeping noises are kind of like all around us. So when, you don't buckle your seatbelt, the little beeping noise goes off. Or if I'm backing up my car, the beeping noise. When I was at school, when I was going to school physically, the alarm in between periods. But those prolonged, rhythmic beeping noises really bother me because in a hospital, that's all you hear 24/7. So in a way, the whole entire world in which I walk in, there's always going to be reminders, and it's hard because, right now I could walk outside and I could point out 15 things that remind me of what I went through.
What about
Then she delved into how hard it was to spend about 3 months in that hospital, all alone.
It would reach 2 o'clock, for example. I would say just 1 more hour, you could do it. Then 3, and I just thought that eventually I would reach an hour where they would tell me I could go home, but it didn't happen for 3.5 months after that.
And because you were 10, you really.
It is truly heartbreaking to learn that Maya does not feel safe after her time in that hospital. Even at home, a place that should be familiar and bring instant comfort, Maya emphasized that she does not feel safe anywhere. She expressed her worry that this paranoia will be a problem when she goes to college. Maya is currently a senior in high school and hopes to go to college someday. However, she still has this fear at the back of her mind. Fear of being away from her family once again. Then she spoke about dealing with a crippling case of survivor's guilt. She explained that she was one of the last people to speak to her mother before she died. To this day, Maya still blames herself for her mother's death. If she could turn back the hands of time, Maya says that she would have made her mother believe she was doing fine at the hospital because she believes it would have prevented the suicide.
If I would have let her think that I was doing okay, that maybe she wouldn't have taken the step to end her life to get me out of there.
Right. And now, looking back on it, does it worry you that you told her those things?
Yes, I feel like it's my fault.
Kowalski's attorney, Greg Anderson, said Maya was falsely imprisoned, abused, and denied contact with her family. On the other hand, Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital repeatedly denied these claims and maintained that they did no harm to the Kowalski family directly. Howard Hunter, the hospital's lawyer, told the court that hospital staff had acted reasonably and prudently to deal with a difficult and challenging case. He explained that Beta had dared doctors to give Maya high doses of ketamine, which was not approved for children.
She's got a high tolerance for drugs. The amount they were giving her, if she was a horse, she would be comatose or dead. It continued throughout the coma. I don't mean to belabor this. This was not a spa day in Monterey. This was a very dangerous procedure that almost ended her life. All of these are back in evidence at Defense Exhibit 3148. Upon return to the United States,
To make things more confusing for them, Maya did not seem like she was in any pain. For this reason, the doctors believed that the girl's symptoms were manufactured and then encouraged by her mother. In the closing arguments, the hospital's attorney picked apart Beta's journal entries of Maya's symptoms. He left no stone unturned and tried to create a reasonable doubt that the ketamine treatments were not working, and as such, the hospital had no reason to go along with Beta's suggestion.
November, December, remember, this is only 5 months after the 4th of July, riding the bike normally on July 3rd, not just the coma in Mexico, but we're back to Mexico again for booster and booster and booster. And they want to tell you the ketamine's working. Well, let's see if it worked. Beata Kowalski to Beata Kowalski. Relapse January 13th. Blurred vision, massive headache. The pain in my head is so intense I could hardly say anything. Worse each day. Relapse. And by the way, look at the last line. I was taking the ketamine ATC around the clock every 3.5 hours. So when you look at the chart of infusions, does it include the ketamine she's drinking, the anesthetic that she's drinking? This is in addition to that. We get to Dr. Hanna, and again,
These are very clear defense tactics, but unfortunately, all witnesses who had earlier tried to testify in favor of the hospital had nothing substantial to say in their defense. Take a look at this nurse who was at some point in charge of Maya Kowalski's care. She mostly had cannot recall as her answer to the questions being thrown at her.
The other hand we just saw going back to 004 did not have a wedding ring, I don't believe. Right hand there. True?
Correct.
Okay. So, in the photograph, so it would appear then that you and Ms. Beatty were not the only people in that room. True?
I did not say that. I'm saying that I only recall me and Kathy being in the room at the time.
Okay. There was only one set of photographs taken, right?
I did not say that. I know of a set of photographs that was taken.
Okay, but there was only one set of photographs taken, to the best of your knowledge.
Yes, that's...
This
that is
session.
true. Yes, this session of photographs.
And in this session, Maya Kowalski was changed how many times?
I don't recall all of the details of the photos being taken, but I don't recall there being 2 different sets of photos taken with me being present.
I understand it. Sets of clothing. Did you put on and take off Maya?
I don't remember the details of the clothing, the taking them off and putting them on, but as a bedside nurse, I would have helped her.
Mm-hmm.
And these photos in question are photos that were taken off Maya without her parents' consent. Maya also recalled how uncomfortable she felt when she was forced to take her clothes off in front of people she did not know personally.
Said Kathy Beatty showed up in my room a little bit earlier than the time I was supposed to go. She came in alone initially, and she told me that if I wanted to go and see my mom in court, I was going to have to be stripped naked and photographed by her nude so I could go to court. I cried and cried because I'm a very modest and private person when it comes to stuff like that. I have been, and there's a reason for that. I really respect my privacy, and eventually I was able to reason with Kathy, and she said that I could keep my training bra on and my shorts. That's when she left the room. She came back with Nurse Alicia, I don't know her last name, but she came in and she assisted with holding me down and moving me and removing some articles of my clothing for the photos.
It was a long trial, but it finally came to an end when the jury delivered its verdict on the 9th of November. The hospital was found liable on multiple counts of wrongdoing, including false imprisonment, assault, and the intentional infliction of emotional distress on Maya and her mother.
Form. We, the jury, return the following verdict. Claim 1, false imprisonment, October 7th through October 13th, 2016, Maya Kowalski. 1. Did Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital falsely imprison Maya Kowalski without legal authority under circumstances that were unreasonable and unwarranted between October 7th and October 13th, 2016? Yes. 2. What is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for medical and psychological expenses to be incurred in the future after she reaches the age of 18 based on the false imprisonment occurring between October 7th and October 13th, 2016? $2,496,000. 3. What is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for pain and suffering, mental anguish, inconvenience, and loss of capacity for the enjoyment of life sustained in the past and to be sustained in the future, based on the false imprisonment occurring between October 7th and October 13th, 2016?
17-year-old Maya and her family wept profusely as the verdict was being read. The family received millions of dollars in damages. The jury awarded about $261 million to Maya and her family.
Kyle Kowalski. 44. What is the total amount of damages sustained by Kyle Kowalski for the loss of Beata Kowalski support and services? $2 million. 45. What is the total amount of damages sustained by Kyle Kowalski for the loss of parental companionship, instruction, and guidance, and Kyle Kowalski's pain and suffering as a result of Beata Kowalski's injury and death? $18 million. Claim 7. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, Maya Kowalski. 46. Did Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, through the acts of its employees, engage in extreme and outrageous conduct, intending that conduct to cause or with reckless disregard of the high probability of causing severe emotional distress to Maya Kowalski? Yes. 47. What is the total amount?
It is absolutely horrible what happened to this family. A little girl was enduring the most excruciating pain, and even worse, her family was not allowed to comfort her. The doctors then accused Beata of deliberately making her daughter sick. When Maya was eventually taken from her family's custody, the result was a mother who tragically killed herself. Yes, the case finally got the attention it deserved, but at a terrible cost. No amount paid in damages can replace the love and companionship of a mother and a wife. The Kowalski family lost so much, and we hope they can find some solace and strength in the fact that they got justice.